Kevin Sawyer, former NHL TSN Jets color analyst. Let's get also to the big news. It was Patrik Laine who was kind of stealing the headlines a little bit. And so my theory a little bit here, Kevin, and it could be a little unfair, but when I look at the Toronto situation with Mitch Marner, yes, things were trickling out in the beginning of, his agent, Darren Ferris, was pretty talkative. He came on the show. We even had his dad, Paul Marner, on the show. But then as time started to go on, there was radio silence. Nobody was talking. Now, it comes out, Mitch Marner said, I always wanted to be a Leaf. And, even when there was talk, other teams reaching out to me, possible offer sheets, kind of shut that down because I wanted to remain a Leaf. So there's this belief that when you go quiet, it's because you don't want anything that can be misinterpreted out there. You want to get a deal done with your team. Would it be fair and unfair, obviously you tell me, with Patrik Laine being as vocal as he has been, and then with the recent comments of complaining about who he's playing with, I mean, it almost sounds like a guy who's not scared to burn bridges.
I would say that would be unfair in the sense that Patrik Laine is always a guy that's fairly candid. He usually speaks what's on his mind, and this is a young guy, a Finnish guy that, he has a different type of a sense of humor, and I'm not saying that he's applying a sense of humor to the alleged comments here, and that's one thing that I got to say, too, is I think generally there's a pretty good feel as to what Patrik Laine was saying in this latest report, but there's always an error for translation for sure. Like, for example, when he talks about there's top lines and then there's our line. Well, I don't personally view that as him slighting Brian Little in the line that he played on. It's the fact is that Brian Little line is not the top line; it's the second line. So I'm not sure that he's saying anything that anybody doesn't already know. So my belief will continue to be what I believed up to this point with Patrik Laine. He's really excited about being a Winnipeg Jet. Everything that I've heard and seen from him is that he loves the town, he loves the fans, he loves the team. But it's a trying time for sure. As the year of the RFAs and who knows what's being said or not said, to use media as leverage. But I believe Patrik Laine does want to be a Winnipeg Jet.
Kevin, you've been around a lot of rooms as a player, as an analyst now. You understand the dynamics, and every room has its own kind of culture, whatever you want to call it, the way that they operate. Not everyone always gets along, and we know that is fine. But just with all the stuff swirling around Winnipeg, and they've had a really good team, so you think for the most part everyone should be pretty happy. A lot of guys getting paid and having success. But with the Blake Wheeler comments earlier on in camp, and with Patrik Laine, and it feels as though there was perhaps a little dissension, not from Laine to the city, but just in the room in general. Do you think that's the case? Was there anything to the dressing room not being as cohesive as they wanted it to be last year?
The general feel, and I think that's fair, Mike, where the feel of the dressing room was somewhat unrest. But, I got to clarify that my perspective being close to the team was because the team wasn't playing at their best. You got a captain that drives harder than I've ever seen anybody drive. This guy goes so hard in practice. I mean, games, we all see it, but practice, this guy is ridiculously competitive and he wants to win. And sometimes, by his own admission, he spits nails. And so the room was at unrest at times because they were not playing the way that their captain, and they all knew that they could. And I think that's a good thing, Mike, where they weren't content. They felt like they had a real chance last year to win a Stanley Cup, and they underachieved. But they've got some personalities in that room that want to achieve good things. And to me, I say, so what? If they're barking at times and they're not, all hugging all the time, to me, that's all right. That's a good thing. It shows a sign of guys that want to get better. So I don't have alarm bells at all about whether these guys like each other or want to play for each other at all. I actually think it's a good thing sometimes when these guys are a little pissed off.
Yeah, we're like that here at work. I really don't like MJ, but we make good radio. Kevin, Kevin, really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me anytime.